Yeah, just check. Okay, I think we'll get started here. I want to welcome everybody to our October the 2nd West Perth Council meeting. Certainly appreciate the attendance that we have tonight. It's kind of a special night in a way for some of the people. So just before we get our meeting called to order, I'd ask that we take a moment of reflection. And I don't very often mention this, but I think tonight this maybe warrants it. We had an occasion or a death of Gene Edmonds, which occurred this past week. And Gene was a very vocal and avid West Perth person. She was a business person. She was an artist and very vocal in expressing what she thought should happen and her ideas, and certainly was involved on the beautification committee and some of the other committees that we had for the BIA and downtown. So when we do our moment of reflection tonight, perhaps we can keep the Edmonds family in our thoughts. She has a daughter, Anne, and a son, Doug. So we'll just keep that in mind when we do our moment of reflection. So if you just bow your heads and we'll have a moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll call our meeting to order. First item up then is confirmation of the agenda. As it was circulated, do we have a mover and seconder to confirm the agenda? Councillor Rose and Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. So we do have with us tonight some students from Upper Thames Elementary School that were very successful last May. I was going to say fall, but it was in the spring, and they were 2023 Skills Ontario Character Animation Gold Medalists. And we have 4 of them here with us tonight, as well as their teachers. And so we're here to present them with some awards tonight. And I do have a little bit of a preamble. And then Dean, I will let you go and you can present the awards at the side there and call them up at that time. So on behalf of West Perth Council, I'm honored to recognize the students of Upper Thames Elementary School who won the gold medal in the grade 4 to 6 Character Animation Division of Skills Ontario competition. This victory is a testament to the exceptional talent, dedication, and hard work of the Upper Thames students and educators. Character animation is an art form that marries technical skill with storytelling, and this achievement not only showcases their artistic prowess, but also their determination to excel in a competitive arena. Skills Ontario is a platform that encourages exploration and skill development. Winning gold underscores the importance of fostering creativity and innovation within our educational community. Their victory is a shining example of what can be achieved when a community supports its young talents. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our teachers, Cheryl Hopkins and Judy Horner, and mentors who have guided and inspired our students. Your dedication has played a pivotal role in their success, and I also extend appreciation to the parents and guardians whose unwavering support has propelled these students to new heights. In conclusion, may this gold medal be a source of inspiration for all of us to continue nurturing the talents and dreams of those of all ages in West Perth. Thank you. And Dean, at this time, I'll let you call them. And just before we get into the formality here, you're going to present them, and then if they want to come around and shake hands with everybody here, I think that would be proper. Good. Take her away.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. So our first recipient is Edwin Emerson. Please come up. We'll have you stand. Our second recipient is Evelyn Ward. Please come up. The third recipient, Porter Harbinson. And the fourth recipient is Sam Dennis. And our teachers, Cheryl Hopkins and Jody Horner.
Okay, that concludes the award part for this evening. You're welcome to stay and see what else goes on here tonight if you wish, but we won't be offended if you get up and leave. That's fine too. But it's your call. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything that was on the agenda tonight? Okay, if you find as we go on that you're treading in hot water, you can always declare it at that time. The consent agenda, we have a number of items there, 10, I guess, to be exact. Is there anything there that anybody would like pulled and dealt with separately or have a little more of an explanation about it? No, we're good. Okay, then at this time, I would entertain a motion that we accept the consent agenda. Moved by Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Harold. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. We don't have a public meeting per se tonight. We've had our delegation, I guess, so we've got that out of the road. We have nothing from the planning department tonight. Our chief building official is here and wants to do a report about a variance in a line fence. So Bob, you can take it away.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. This application is almost identical to the 4 previous applications that were requested for variance heights of a privacy fence at the back of the property between Pond Street and Thames Street. The 4 permits have been issued for the variances that were granted. This property owner was a little late in getting his application in, so this is basically an extension request of the previous relief sought.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Any questions for Bob on that particular matter? It's, as he said, it's very similar, if not exactly the same as what we had dealt with earlier, so. The recommendation that I have here then is that the council municipality of West Perth approve a fence variance to a height of 8 feet for the rear property line for the property at 225 Pond Street. We have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Deputy Mayor Chakowski. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Nothing from the fire chief tonight. We do have, we have our librarian. There's a report, is there not, from the librarian? No? Okay. Okay, then the next is our operations manager, brief report for some snow plow equipment.
Good evening. Hopefully you've had the opportunity to read the report. I'm looking for authorization to single source for a 96-inch poly heavy duty plow to go in front of our new pickup truck that we just recently purchased. We just recently sold our oldest unit along with the pickup truck. And so we're looking to replenish that unit to complete the number of plows that we actually require. Is there any questions regarding the cost? It's $12,150. It used to be under 10,000, but as everyone is aware of, equipment costs have been slowly creeping up over the years. So,
Any questions for Mike on that? The reasoning is in the report there as to why we want to single source it. Matches what we already have in stock or that we use. If there's no further questions, then the recommendation that we have here is that municipality of West Perth authorize the operations manager to single source a new 96-inch heavy duty poly Arctic snowplow for the new 3/4 ton pickup truck. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Chessel and Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thanks, Mike. Okay, we have nothing from recreation facilities tonight. Moves us down, nothing from the treasurer, even though the treasurer is here. Nothing, nothing that Wendy has. So brings us down to the clerk's report. Dan?
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, Council. Before Council tonight is a request for decision for an extension to a drinking water source protection joint risk management agreement. The agreement was initially in place in 2014 and has since been extended in various 3-year periods to today's date. Just as you see, costing has changed, and we've outlined what the 2024 cost and the 25 cost will be. It is something we are required to have, and just here to answer any comments or concerns you may have.
Any questions for Dan on that? Okay. If there are no questions, then I do have a recommendation here, and it's that the municipality of West Perth approve the joint risk management service agreement amendment, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign all necessary documents. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor Rose. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, we have a number of items under correspondence. Do you want to, I guess you could almost comment on all 3 of them if you wish that. Well, they came across your desk.
No,
I saw them.
Fair enough. So the first one, thank you, is correspondence from Stratford Perth Pride. In my conversations with them, I made them aware of our council recognition policy and identified to them what we will do and what we won't do per policy. From what I read in the comment or from the emails exchange, they are very satisfied. So I've committed to flying a digital flag and changing our lights on our buildings where we can change our lights through gemstones and the clock tower to coincide with the Trans Pride Week. If there's any further direction from council, I'm happy to have it.
So basically what you're saying is they're quite content with what we've offered them, the way we,
I think in my interpretation of it, I think they're happy with it, and they're happy that it's on the floor today for council to see
Yeah.
and for everyone to see.
okay, very good. And then the next one from Lorianne Van Hegel.
Yeah, this is, I guess, a fairly new one for our council, but we did follow up with AGCO and events like this where it's a private business looking to hold an event and have a liquor license. It's fairly common and the normal practice. So staff at this time would recommend that we do declare this a significant event in the community, like we've done for larger ball tournaments and things like that. So she can have a liquor license for her business event.
Any questions with regards to that one? Okay, if not, we just approve it when we do the final recommendation correspondence, do we? Or do you need a separate one for that?
We can, or I'm happy to have it now. I can provide you with
Okay,
the recommendation.
recommendation. Okay, the council municipality of West Perth declare the Oasis Spa Paint Night on October the 19th, 2023 to be of municipal significance and our community or community significant. And advise the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario that it has no objection to it taking place. We have a mover and seconder for that, Councillor Chessel and Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And I expect Councillor Foster to partake of that event and we'll get a report afterwards. Pick your color. And finally, the last one is a letter from Municipal Affairs. I don't know anything further you want to say on that one. I think everybody, well, we had it in our agenda, but I think it was mailed out earlier too.
I think the only thing I would note is that the deadline to submit our comments is at the next council meeting. So we're hoping to bring a report to that council for comments and final approval. And then someone will be working very hard to get that off during the meeting.
Okay, very good. Any questions on that? Okay, so we do have a recommendation to deal with correspondence then. Actually, we have a recommendation for that one, I guess, too. That the municipality of West Perth directs staff to bring a report regarding housing affordable task force recommendations to the next regular council meeting, which is, I believe, the 16th of October. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Trankowski, Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. So now we have a recommendation that the municipality of West Perth accept correspondence as information. Moved by Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. So it brings us down to council reports. And the first one is from Deputy Mayor Trankowski with regards to Upper Thames Board of Directors meeting. There was, I believe, two different board meetings, and the minutes were in there. And there's a couple things that you wanted to highlight, I guess, with regards to the budget. So I'll turn it over to you, Dean.
Thank you, Your Worship. So with your permission, I'll combine 8.1 and 8.2 together. The August 29th, 2023 board meeting and September 26th, 2023 board meeting. And yes, the matter before us that I want to highlight specifically is the budget for the 2024 year. The preliminary budget was brought forward by Upper Thames Conservation Authority staff to the board on August the 29th. For the initial initial layout or rollout of the draft budget, and it was discussed again at the next meeting on September 26th. So that's the good news, is that they have an early start on the budget. The more unfortunate news is that there so far looks to be a significant increase proposed for the levy in the neighborhood of 24 to 25%. So what that would mean for West Perth is an additional levy of an added approximately $50,000 or $55,000. Our current 2023 levy sits at 197,000, and based on the preliminary discussions of the draft budget, that levy could be sitting somewhere around the $250,000 mark for 2024. To try and put numbers into perspective, I pulled out the 2015 budget binder and noticed that the levy from that year was in the low 80,000s. So it's a significant progression over time. There's a lot of information in both of those in the agenda for both meetings. So my intent was to introduce the information to West Perth Council in the same way it was introduced to the board. And at our next meeting on October the 16th, I'm going to request the clerk that this item be carried forward for additional discussion at the October 16th meeting. So when we had our board meetings and on the 29th and the 26th, the board chair asked that the respective board members take this information back to their respective councils and seek their comments, or first of all, make them aware of the situation and the details behind it. And I've attempted to do that by providing the agenda for your review, but also to seek a response in terms of questions or comments that the board members could take back from their respective councils to the board for further discussion. So the timing for the budget, the approval of the budget for Upper Thames Conservation Authority will be in February, but there will be discussions leading up to that final decision. So there's a lot of information in there, but the driver is the legislative changes made by the province in terms of the governance and the operation of the conservation authorities. The services that they offer now have to be categorized into a level 1, level 2, or level 3 category of service. Level 1 are mandatory services that are prescribed by acts of legislation under the Conservation Authorities Act and associated pieces of legislation. Level 2 is a municipal services agreement, which is negotiated separately with each municipality. I believe Maitland Valley has made their presentation. I'm not sure if Oswald Bayfield has yet. Then I know that Upper Thames has yet to come to this council to discuss that. And then level 3 services are kind of the non-mandatory services like education, programming, the campground, recreational type services that they provide as well. This is a high level view at the moment. I just wanted to give council the opportunity to have a first look at the information, and I can take any questions or comments at this time, but we will be coming back to this at our October 16th meeting to have a more deeper dive into the changes and the legislative changes. They outline the type of services to be provided, but they also stipulate a timeline. And the gist of it is that the provincial government is accelerating the timeline on the due dates on when these different management plans and service plans need to be in place. So it's because of the accelerated timeline that's been explained to us by the Conservation Authority staff that added staffing is needed in order to meet the legislative requirements to provide the services within the time stipulated. And I believe when you look through the material, we are being told, the board is being told that 9 additional full-time employees need to be hired in order to accommodate this, the changes. And the breakdown where the 9, that was at the August 29th meeting. So the board asked staff to please explain where the 9 additional employees are needed. So you will see on the September 26th agenda a breakdown of where those additional employees are needed. So there's a lot of moving parts in the budget discussions right now. There's a lot of numbers being shifted or being laid out there. The initial at the August 29th meeting, the chair asked for initial comments from board members. And I mentioned that, and I was not the only one that mentioned it. It seemed to be a common consensus around the table that the member municipalities aren't in a very strong position to undertake a double-digit tax levy increase, especially something in the magnitude in the low 20s. So the other comment that I offered was to try and use any money that's in reserve to offset levy increase. But the board was told that as an organization, the Conservation Authority has the amount of money they have in the reserve is only sufficient to cover operations for a 2-month period. So the reserve, like commonly West Perth and Perth County Council or Perth County will use have a fund set aside to try and offset levy increases. That option is available, but it's very limited for the Conservation Authority. So, so there will have to be some tough choices made, I guess is the initial message here right now. But as I said, the board chair did ask that we go back to our respective councils, make them aware and gather information and comments and bring them back to our meeting on October the 31st. So I want to present the information tonight, give you a chance to think it over, and then come back on the 16th with questions or comments, which I can then in turn take back to our board meeting on the 31st. So that's my report right now.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Dean. Any questions at this time for Dean? Mr. Foster?
You said it's for the requirements, the province has changed. So is this just a one-time increase or is this a ongoing increase?
Through you, or your worship, we're not 100% sure yet. Like there will be any gaps that they have in their current programming to bring their management plans up to date. That would be a short-term requirement, but going forward, the execution and of those plans may or may not need the continued use of the staffing. Like this is still pretty fresh information to the board. So we're still trying to determine what is a short-term necessity and what's going to be extended over a longer period of time.
Councilor Rose?
So it sounds like there could be a good chance, Dean, that once these extra 9, you said people are hired, they'll just stay there. They don't know, but usually it's just not temporary. Would that be a fair assumption?
So Yeah, we're still trying to determine what the longer term impacts are, Councillor Rose. I guess what could be done is, and it was mentioned, if someone from Upper Thames were to come to council and give a presentation to provide a broader, like a deeper dive into the details, that would, they would be willing to do that. So if council wishes, then I can bring that request back to the, through to the board and relay it to the staff.
Councillor Rose?
I think that would be a good idea to have the folks come and then we can ask more questions. And I just had one more part to what I was going to say. When we're talking about reserves, that obviously was cash, that's not lands and assets that they have, correct? Because we all know there's a lot of money sitting there.
Yeah, they have different types of reserves, like they'll have cash on hand. They also do have investments, as West Perth has investments. They also do have physical assets, as West Perth does. But that kind of gets into that deeper discussion on how to deal with the short-term and the long-term financial constraints. And I think that's where it would be appropriate for someone from Upper Thames staff to come and walk through those scenarios.
Anybody else? Okay, we can certainly give it some thought. Have another discussion on the 16th. Councillor Harold, do you have any good news from Assapo Bayfield at all?
Our first budget meeting is on the 12th, so I'll be able to report after that.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, the next item under correspondence is coming up through the Heritage Committee. And as you're aware, Doug Phelps is chair of that committee, and he's not chair either. It's Jesse Britton is chair, but Councillor Phelps is not here tonight. So we can either deal with this if you want, or we can defer it until the next meeting when hopefully Doug is here. It's whatever you would like to do. Murray?
I think to be fair to Doug, we should have him here so
Sure.
he can explain. That's
Yep.
my feeling on it.
Yep, okay, no, we can do that. That's fair enough. Okay. So recommendation that we have that the council municipality of West Perth accept the council reports as information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Oh, is there a question, Dan? You got
Sorry, I
something?
was just, can we accept the reports and postpone item
Yes.
8.3 to the next?
So you want a
council
motion to defer that one?
meeting? Just to postpone it, I think it can be tied into the motion.
Okay.
So the council municipality of West Perth accept the council reports as information and postpone item 8.3 until the October 16th meeting.
Okay, yep. You want to move that then, Murray? Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Harold. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Brings us down then to bylaws. Bylaw 55 is a bylaw to amend bylaw 72, being a bylaw requiring an emergency management program, emergency coordinator, program committee, and plan for protection of public safety, health and the environment, the critical infrastructure and property, and to promote economic stability and a disaster resilient community. Bylaw 56 is bylaw to appoint a deputy clerk for the corporation and municipality of West Perth. And those are the only two we have. So any questions with regards to those two bylaws? Councillor Foster?
How come Greg has to be added as a deputy clerk?
Greg doesn't have to be added as deputy clerk, but it's a common practice for a closed session to have a clerk in there. So if we're having a closed session where only the CAO or Greg can be present, he's also fulfilling his the clerk duty under legislation.
Any other questions? Good question. Okay, if not, recommendation is that the council municipality of West Perth give first and second reading to bylaw 55 and 56 this third day of October. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And finally, recommendation that the council municipality of West Perth give third and final reading to bylaw 55 and 56 this third day of October. We have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Deputy Mayor Jankowski. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. So we do have couple announcements. Of course, this coming Monday will be a holiday for those that aren't farmers, unless it rains. October the 16th will be our regular council meeting, and we've kind of highlighted a few things that are going to come to us on that night as well. Any notices of motion? Any other business to bring up at this time? Deputy Mayor Jankowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick note of thanks and congratulations to the Mitchell Legion. Last week, they had a pulled pork night and presentation of donations to the community. Significant donation to West Perth Village, as well as to Stratford Perth Hospice. So just wanted to thank the Legion and congratulate them on their continued efforts to support the community.
Okay, thanks, Dean. Anybody have anything else? All right. If that's the case, confirmatory bylaw 57, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council, the corporation, the municipality of West Perth, be read a first and second time this third day of October. Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And finally, bylaw 57, being a bylaw confirm the proceedings of the council corporation of the municipality of West Perth, be read a third time and finally passed this third day of October. Mover and seconder, Councillor O'Donnell, and seconded by Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And finally, a motion we've been waiting for, that the council municipality of West Perth adjourn the council meeting at 7:35. That's a record almost. Moved by Councillor Rose and seconded by Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried.